Here we are in yet another installment of the Bluestone Treatise of Thoth series. As I've said on all the other videos in this series, this was originally given to me by Thoth in 1977. It addresses Thoth Racemus of Afra, which was his incarnation in Egypt. And at that time, he chose to incarnate with not the full spectrum of his illumined self. However, he was still a highly illumined being. But you will notice in the texts where it says he discovered or he found, things like that, because he was intending to move into a pattern of discovery in regard to being an Earth citizen. Now, he had plenty of blue star genetics in him, but he wanted to bring down the focus of how it felt, even as an illumined being, to discover, to create, and to evolve. We speak here of, Thoth writing this or that. Most of what he wrote was placed into his Akasha, and he didn't do it by pen. He didn't do it by his own hand. He literally impressed it into the Akasha. However, he did physically write down some smaller things, lesser things. But the true books of Thoth were all flamed into the Akasha. In the 1977 text I'm going to read to you here, as I've said before in the other videos on this series, most of it, 99% is exactly as it was written in. I have changed just a few places to make it more understandable, or maybe there was a syntax problem or something like that. But for the most part, as I said, really over 99% is as I wrote it in 1977. So now we're going to begin, and I begin first with an ancient verse of Thoth Racemus from his Akashic library. From the center of the constricted matter arises the finest essence of the whole, contracted from molten agony into a flashing bead, which has surrendered the nature of its opaque primordial birth to the purifiers of light and has become gloriously transformed. These are the stones of glory, which arise from the eclipse of creation as a ring of fire. Crystals were accepted by the ancients as frozen sparks of creation. Thoth further assumed the perspective of alchemists and perceived them to be transmuted from their impure state of congestion deep within the pressures of the earth, being returned to their original state, yet suspended in time. Thoth Racemus of Afra was named Tirna at birth. His appearance was much different than his Racemus form. He did not become Thoth Racemus of the altar place, or Afra, until his transformation in the cave of Mithra. His inheritance caused him to feel especially close to the concept of elemental births, for he had been born with a lapis in his right hand and an emerald in his left. This occurrence was not merely a mystical happening, but a merging of two veins of cosmic law. The two original stones formed within the palms of the infant Tirna were known as seed stones. They were conceived by elements within the womb coming forth through the chakras or energy points of the baby's hands. When certain consummate stellar harmonies strike a chord of unity focused within a living thing, new actions occur that would not normally result through the natural pattern of the species. This is true also for man. Thoth Racemus's father merged his genetics of another world with those of his life circle. In doing so, he opened his system for a new attitude of law within the womb of his wife. As an oyster creates a pearl through pressures of friction, so the chakras of the babe contracted the aggregations of elemental substance which composed the nourishment received from the womb and produced in like manner the pearls of emerald and lapis. As with the oyster, the organism of man can, in rare instances, combine the two veins of biologic and geologic law to conceive the most precious of jewels. The two stones of Thoth, while assuming the elemental type of emerald and lapis lazuli, were set apart from stones born of earth strata, and that within these seed stones were found the stirrings of atoms singular to their form of creation. Now in 2025, and I'm adding this, I know that these palm stones contained some of the DNA of its host human. Thoth kept his palm stones with him. He was actually able to grow other lapis and emerald crystals from them. These also contained his DNA for unique purposes. Although the emerald is often associated with Thoth, being the stone of his famous emerald tablets, and the lapis is the stone representative of the office of his authority, being one of the elect to bear the blue stone, these precious jewels were not as paramount in his observation of stones as was the opal. In order to comprehend Thoth's consideration of the opal, and indeed his complete life ideology, it must be understood that Thoth Racemus involved the higher emotions of his soul in everything he could conceive, rationalize, dream, hope, or reveal in living. There was a joy in his heart as he watched and listened to the musical timbre from the breast of a small bird. It filled him with awe and love of the intelligence that could have been so thoughtful as to pause on the throat of such a tiny creature amidst the vastness of the universe. And so Thoth Racemus became easily enamored by all manifestations of cosmic science. The opal was to Thoth the most fiery depth of the ring of fire. In it he saw his nature, translucent lights mingling with the iridescent misty whiteness, seeking the true tone of light, the ray of perfection, all the while bathing in colors of sky and fire, tracing faint passages of mineral rivers through the crystalline chambers, and reflecting the beauty of the mind's eye in a depth of dimensional lakes trapped in the recesses of its creation. Thoth discovered the opal to possess the power of purifying light waves. The ancients knew light waves or photons to waver in purity, or rather direction and composition, allowing gravity and various imbalances to create discrepancies in its vibration. While the crystalline structure of most precious stones allowed for a slight correction of this discrepancy and reflective power, the opal transmuted the light waves to their purest degree. He used the opal in the treatment of the eyes along with the quartz crystal lenses. He also believed that by rubbing the opal, the circuitries of the body were cleared from stagnant energies. He practiced placing an opal on the closed lid of an infected eye. He also had patients gaze into the stone to treat eyes and the mucous membrane. The opal was seen to relieve congestion of fluids in the body. Rubbing or gazing into the heart of a ruby was suggested by Thoth for circulation problems, especially those within the muscles of the heart. However, it was cautioned that a faceted transparent gem was also a crystal, and the patient should remember to stare into only the smooth portion of the crystal. Because of this, special cuts of gems were faceted specifically for visual healing. It was discovered by the ancient physicians that people developed attractions to certain stones and tended to repel others. Also, if the stone was impure or faceted wrong for that individual, it could be that the specific stone needed to be exchanged for another of the same type. While one diamond might produce an uneasiness to the patient, another would give relief to the physical ailment. Because gems were rare to a degree, even in Thoth Racemus' time, he applied a similar etheric receipt to them as he had with the clays. This was connecting to crystals etherically that were not available to the person in the physical. This meant that certain gems could be drawn upon from the subterranean depths of the earth that had never been mined by the surface inhabitants, such as the blue diamond, mined only in the central tunnels of the inner earth. It was extremely rare and difficult to obtain, and was known by the inner earth inhabitants as the lithus blue and also the 212 carbon, as it was found in certain strata that produced pressures of that measurement. This diamond was believed to be especially potent on all diseases, but was usually drawn upon etherically, being too powerful through direct assimilation of energies. The lithus blue was primarily used in its physical state for cosmic communications and demolecularizations. Tourmalines were etherically received in the treatment of arthritis and gastric conditions, the red and green stones respectively being the most effective. Another subterranean stone was the golden jasmine, this being even rarer than the lithus blue diamond, as this beautiful golden luminosity is not a creation of this planet, but was formed from the seizures of supernova and seeded in the first collections of matter molding the embryonic Earth. The golden jasmine is similar to a diamond in many ways, but is created as a result of much greater pressures and heat. The crystalline cells, or energy chambers, of the golden jasmine are pyramidical and are placed in relationship to each other as to create a double ray, one projecting outward and the other inward. Thoth taught that this property caused the golden jasmine to be both rigid and facile. These terms he applied to the alchemical tendencies of energies in matter, that which aligned its energy so that no true purity could be formed through the mingling with foreign energy types, was rigid in energy structure. That which was receptive to a fluidity of change in its creation of purity was facile. As an example, a diamond cannot be merged with an emerald and remain pure. That is producing another stone of quality as a result of the combination. Therefore, the diamond and emerald are rigid. An apple and a pear, however, can join energies to create a new fruit, which is as pure or purer in energy structure than the two parents. This is, of course, something that does not occur naturally, but in the age of Thoth could be stimulated to occur. So in other words, in his day, an emerald and a diamond could be merged because they had the ability to change it to a liquid form and then reconstitute it, you might say. Because of the unusual quality of the golden jasmine, it was seen to actually create new cells when drawn upon, repairing withered limbs and growing new organs. Because of its rarity on and in this sphere, it was mostly drawn upon etherically, and in some cases, this was sufficient for the seemingly miraculous cures. Jade was used by Thoth in his academy as a memory stone. When held and rubbed, past recall was given to the holder through symbols and visions. Although Thoth did not truly need jade to induce his recall, he taught its beneficial use to others. Pearls reduce swelling in body tissues. They also were thought to relieve pain and swelling in the gums, healing abscesses and gum disease. Thoth occasionally would implant seed pearls in the gums temporarily to relieve serious cases. I will pause a moment in the reading to state that Thoth's version of implanting is much different than what we have in dentistry today or any kind of implanting. He used an alchemical process that was painless and was not intrusive to the tissues of the gum. And then when it was time to remove it, he used the same process. So it was not something that was harmful to the body. Emeralds were healers of the eyes and also balancer of the third eye in relationship to the other two. It was believed important that the third eye, or astral vision be balanced with the physical vision to form a pyramid of dimensional sight. While true dimensional sight is rare, a proper balance of the three organs was seen to create harmony throughout the body. The emerald was also associated with the vibration of elements and liquids. It was known by the elect initiates that on certain distant worlds, the structure of the emerald crystallines were at rest or not frozen in symmetry, producing the properties of a liquid. On certain worlds were large natural bodies of liquid emerald lakes. Consequently, the gem was in radiance with the fluid pressure of the body. The ancient physicians used this stone to treat all fluid disorders of the body. Thoth, carrying it a step further, applied the emerald etherically into the fluid of the body with amazing results. Now I will pause for a moment to say there were other gems that were good with liquid forms, and there were liquid lakes on other worlds of those gemstones as well, but the emerald was the primary one. The lapis lazuli was the royal gem of Egypt. For centuries, it represented Egypt symbolically. The properties of the lapis were found to be chameleon, reacting uniquely on the individual. It was especially unusual in that when worn, rubbed, or drawn upon etherically, it began a slow process of healing that affected the total organism, even if the patient was not aware of certain ailments that were festering within. The lapis's energies seemed to possess a mind of their own, seeking out the imbalances without the aid of the mind direction. All that was required of the participant was that he maintain an open channel. Thoth believed that the properties of the lapis were such that they could not distinguish separate conditions of the organism they penetrated, but rather their nature was to unify energies, which were open to mingle with the lapis energies. The one function of the lapis, he reasoned, was to unify. Through unification within a biological system was achieved total health. Aquamarine, like the emerald, is a fluid stone, but found in smaller pools of liquid on some planets, usually near deposits of silicates on other worlds. It too was thought to affect the liquids of the body, being more effective on the secretions of the chakras, the pineal gland in particular, than the general body fluids. Aquamarine was used to correct disturbances of the stomach, bowel, kidneys, and liver. Topaz was applied to increase the luster and thickness of the hair to maintain the true color. It also was believed to clear the murkiness of the eyes, as was coral. Coral was used as a detoxifier and diuretic. Petrified woods were often rubbed and meditated upon to produce far memory or the remembrance of past lives, which was also true of jade. Petrified woods, especially redwood, was applied etherically to repolarize the body and balance the skeletal system. Now we'll pause here to say that Thoth, traveled to what is now California. And there were redwood trees then. And so he was able to procure some of these stones, but also it could be used etherically. Petrified mastodon bone and tusk was effective in relaxing the patient by either rubbing or wearing it about the neck, wrist, ankle, or finger. Ivory of all kinds was thought to act upon the nervous system, relaxing the nervous armor. Ivory was also recommended as a strengthener of bone and bone marrow. Turquoise was applied to patients with high blood pressure and other circulatory conditions. It was also used for fever and to reduce infection. Moonstone was recommended for warts and other external growths. It was rubbed across the growth several times a day. The sparkling amethyst was known as a toner of the astral and etheric bodies, bringing about alignment of the chakra centers and sharpening the colors of the aura. The sapphire was revealed by the sensitives of the past to be a raptured lapis, or rather a lapis lazuli in a sublime state, the most radiant degree of cosmic ascension for this stone being the blue star sapphire. The subterranean mind stars were the most treasured, for the star points were truer in refraction of light and etheric rays. I also want to pause here to say, of course, the star is formed when you are able to craft it in that way, to create that refraction. And so the ancients knew how to do this to perfection, much better than we do, because they had otherworldly tools, you might say, when I say the ancients, Thoth and his peers. The sapphires were used primarily for spiritual attunement, but also were applied etherically as body toners, strengthening muscles for general elasticity. The blue star was the most potent, being administered to those with withered and atrophied muscles. Lastly, there is the dazzling ring of flames opal of Subterranea, which arranges its mineral colors in circles of flame. Thoth Racemus wrote several books on gems, describing the benefits of each and encouraging the application of gems through the etheric and astral currents. Now that concludes the reading of the material that I wrote, that I received in 1977. Obviously, there are many other crystals that could have been discussed here, gemstones, etc., but these are the ones that Thoth chose to give me at the time.